What is up, everyone? Today, let's get going with some product research. I'm going to show you the exact same process I use to find products for my seven-figure brands. If you don't know who I am, my name is Michael Elliott. Been selling on Amazon for about 5 years. Lost a lot of money in my first few years. Now I've generated multiple seven figures in the process of doing so. And I want to show you guys how to avoid the same mistakes that I made when I first started so that you can see success with your first product. As you know, this is probably the most important aspect of starting an Amazon FBA business. And the more practice you get, the better you'll be at finding great opportunities. So let's get started, and feel free to request a specific category in the comments. Maybe the next video, I'll show you how I do product research if I were in your shoes. So let's get started. And I'm just inside of Helium 10 right now, which is the product research tool that I suggest using. But before we get into the specifics of how to actually find winning products, let me give you a bit of a background on Helium 10 and what I would suggest when it comes to the specific plan. So they have different plans here: starter, platinum, diamond. You can have a free trial, but initially you'll only get so many actual product searches. So eventually you'll need to get starter, and eventually you'll actually need to get the platinum so you have enough searches to continuously doing product research and other aspects that the tool is useful for. If you want, you can use our discount code. We'll pop it up in the link and on the screen. It's just EJM20. But without further ado, let's get into the actual process of finding winning products. So to start off, you're going to actually start with dashboard. And I just want to show you where to go so that you know where to actually go when it comes to finding the correct product. So we're at dashboard. This, where you're going to be when you set up. You can connect your seller account as well once you have one. But we're going to go to tools. And we're going to go to black box, and then we're going to switch from products to keywords. Now, the reason why we switch from products to keywords is because this will ensure that we are going to look at the overall market for a specific keyword as opposed to one specific product listing. We want to look at the overall data for a given product and given keyword. So I'm going to pull up the filter library that we use to find products for ourselves, and I'll go over these one by one so you have an understanding of what they mean and why they are important. By the way, all of this is something I teach for free in my free group and course. Just check out the links in the description if you want to join that also. So first, we're going to start off with search volume. And this is basically an indicator for how much demand a certain product has. And I don't really want to see the main keyword having any less than 5,000 searches per month. Otherwise, I would say there's not really enough demand or depth of market for the specific product. So 5,000 searches per month at the minimum for the main keyword. Monthly revenue is also another indicator for demand. I don't want to really sell anything below, I would say, $8,000 to $10,000 in average monthly revenue. And by the way, we can put this higher. It'll just narrow down the criteria more, which I'll talk about in a second. But let's move on to price. So the actual sales price of the product. So I wouldn't sell any products below a $25 to $30 sales price because your profit margin is going to be too slim after cost of product, advertising, shipping, fees, everything involved. $25 to $30 minimum is where you should be sitting. In terms of your max price, it kind of depends on your budget, right? The higher the sales price of a product, usually the higher the cost of it. I actually prefer higher ticket items because usually that will give you more room after your cost of product, fees, and everything else involved in the business. So if you have a little bit more capital, I would aim for higher ticket items. For this case scenario, I'm going to actually make this a little bit more tight in terms of criteria. So I'm going to put minimum sales price at 50, and I'll keep this at, let's go to 100 actually. But again, you can go down to the 25 to 30, but I prefer higher ticket. Review count is how we determine competitiveness. And this is really important. This is where a lot of gurus will tell you to have as little reviews as possible. And I don't think that's right. And the reason why I say that is because that is what everybody is teaching. And the influx in new sellers for super low reviewed products is very high. Versus if we look at reviewed products that have an average of 1,000 reviews, the influx in new sellers is going to be lower. And you can still compete in these higher average reviews products. You just really have to make sure you differentiate, which I'll talk a bit about in this video, but I'll probably make another video specifically just on differentiating your products as well. So I would say you can actually max this out around 1,000, if not more. It just, again, depends on what you do to differentiate your product. Because if you get into a competitive market and you don't differentiate, then it is not worth it to do that because you'll just waste time and money. But we can start this at 500. I, as of late, have actually been liking to start this at around 1,000, just because I honestly don't want to find super, super low review products, because again, the influx of new sellers is higher. But I would put it at 1,000 max, or again, you can put it at 500 max. It's not a huge deal. Just be open to more competitive products. For shipping size tier, we'll go small standard, large standard, and you can go large bulky. This again is just going to be larger products that cost more. So it depends if you have the budget. I'll actually keep it at this. I'd honestly sometimes even check off small standard, because usually small standard is going to be very low priced, and I'm not even sure if many products will come up at the $50 range that are small standard. So I'll keep it checked on, but if you want to just aim for higher ticket, you can probably have it off. For monthly sales, at least 300 units sold per month. And for categories, we'll pop some of these categories up on the screen as well, just so you see what we like to get into. But for the purpose of this, I'll go over them quickly. So arts, crafts, and sewing is fine. Automotive is fine. Sometimes accessories in there. Baby is something you can get into, but at a past brand that I sold in baby. And it is an absolute pain in the ass. And the reason is just because there's so many different specifications and rules and compliance issues that you run into being in the baby category. So I'd probably avoid it. Beauty and personal care is another more risky category. It's gated, which means you need approval to sell in the category. So there's more risks. Electronics, just higher return rates, also gated. You need approval to sell in the category. For now, I'd probably avoid it. But things like health and household, home and kitchen dining, office products, pet supplies, sports and outdoors, tools and home improvement. These are all great. Pet supplies is something that's quite competitive. Toys and games you can get into as well. This is oftentimes gated as you're getting into products that oftentimes are dealing with kids and stuff like that too. So more risk. So I like to start by searching 1 to 2 categories at a time, just for organization. There's also another reason, which I'll tell you right now. So if I do these 2 categories and I click search, we can see it says 153 phrases. But if I do health and household and industrial and scientific, it now says 200 plus keywords. And we don't want that. We don't want it to be 200 plus, because that means it will not be showing us all the given results for the given product. So you always want this to be under 200 plus. So to make it under 200 plus, you can either like deselect a category, or you can tighten this up, right? Like you could maybe make the minimum monthly revenue at 15,000, or the minimum search volume at 10,000. Or you can tighten this up to 50 and 60 bucks, right? So you can always tighten up your criteria if you're getting over that 200. Let's just search, and we'll look through these 153 products, and I'll kind of give you an idea of what I'm thinking of as I go through these. And ultimately we'll find something that might be viable to get into. So armless desk chair, just because I'm experienced, I know that in reality, the main keyword for this would be desk chair. And this is where a lot of people go wrong. We want to make sure that we are looking at the data for the main keyword. And so let's take this for an example, just so you know what not to do. So I'm going to take this, and we're going to go to Magnet, which is one of Helium 10's keyword research tools. And you always want to do this when you're doing product research. We're going to paste it in here. And what this is going to do is it's going to bring up all of the relevant and related keywords to this specific armless desk chair keyword. And we're going to sort search volume high to low, because we want to find the main keyword. Now, it's important to note that although this keyword desk has 885,000 searches per month, that doesn't mean it's the main keyword, right? Like the main keyword needs to indeed be the product, and it should ideally have one of the words in it. But desk chair versus a desk, it's obviously not the same product, so you don't even need to look at that. But if you're confused, you can always check. So if we went and did armless desk chair, and we'll just go Amazon.com, we'd see, okay, this is the product it is bringing up. It's bringing up obviously armless desk chairs. But if we went to just office chair, now this is probably the main keyword, right? This is still bringing up armless chairs, but it's also bringing up just office chairs in general. And so this would in fact be the main keyword. So we're trying to find the highest searched, most relevant keyword. And the reason why we do that is because that will give us the most relevant data for the product. So as we scroll through here, office chair in the second one has 618,000 searches per month versus the armless desk chair, which has 5,600. So this is like a sub keyword of that. For that reason, you could still look at it. You could go to office chair and look at the data of this, but we'll get to looking at the data of a given product in a second, so you understand how to do that. So just always make sure that you come to Magnet first. Make sure you are looking at the main keyword, which is the highest searched, most relevant keyword. I'm just going to exit out of these, and I'm going to go back to Black Box. So back at Black Box, we're going to do the same category search, and now we'll start scrolling down. I'm going to find a product that I know we can actually look at, which is the main keyword, so we can look at the data. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to look at this product because I know this is something that's viable. I looked previously. But again, just to go through the process, just to further understand it, let's take this. So again, we're not going to go look at the data yet. We're going to make sure we look at the main keyword. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to go to Magnet, paste it in, get keywords. And again, we're going to sort search volume high to low. And we can see it's bringing up random products, right? Like a microwave. Like obviously that is not a bar cart or rolling cart. We can hover over that. What's that? So rolling cart. Yeah, this is more like utility trays and stuff like that. But look at this third one, bar cart. And bar cart has 93,000 searches per month versus bar carts for home, 6,400. Now, just based on common sense, this is obviously going to be the same product because it's bar cart versus bar carts for home. It's the same thing, but this has higher searches. It's more relevant. Usually you can look at a keyword, and if it is long like this and it has extra words in it that just kind of, again, using your common sense, you could think, okay, well, I would assume that for the home is just an add-on. It's more of a long tail keyword. Then bar carts is probably just the main keyword. Now, you never want to assume, right? But you can always just be aware of that. Like when something's more long form like this and it has added on words, it's usually not the main keyword. But again, that's why we use tools like Magnet to ensure that. So now we're actually gonna look at bar carts. We're gonna go to Amazon. We're gonna pull it up. We can see, okay, this is the product, cool. And what we're gonna do is we're going to now run Helium 10's Chrome extension, X-ray. And we're gonna sort revenue high to low. And now what we're doing is I'm basically verifying all of the data points up here to make sure that they are accurate and they're within the actual filter that we were looking at back in black box, right? Because the thing is, the data points and the products that get brought up in black box are not going to be the most up to date in terms of the overall data. That's why we always go to the Chrome extension afterwards to verify. So let's verify. So search volume, we want at least 5,000 searches per month. This has 93,000 searches per month, which is good. But something to note is when you have a product that has super high search volume, it can sometimes be seasonal or trendy, but that's why this is an amazing tool because we can click on this graph and we can find out. So we'll go over the past year. So it's actually pretty steady, right? Like there's not massive spikes or dips or anything. It's quite steady. We can go all time. So we can see it's a bit of a rise over time. And basically what I'm looking for here is I'm kind of just making sure that over the course of the year, it's somewhat steady and it's always above that 5,000. Now, if it was like 100,000 here and then it dropped down to like 2,000, went back up, then that'd be a bit of a concern. We don't want to see massive, massive dips. And again, we want to over 5,000 throughout the year kind of thing. Now, I don't really look at total revenue. I look more at average revenue like we were doing previously. So again, what did we discuss? $8,000 to $10,000 per month in average minimum revenue. This is 27,000. Great. Average price. We don't want to sell anything below 25 to 30 bucks. This is 67 bucks, a little higher ticket, which I like. Nice. BSR. This is something we didn't go over, but BSR stands for best sellers rank. And this is how Amazon ranks products in a certain category. I wouldn't make this my, kind of deciding factor, but general rule of thumb, this is, you want it to be under 100,000. The lower, the better. Average reviews we discussed. We want ideally under 1,000, under 500, as most people talk about. Again, it's not a huge deal. You can get into more competitive products. If this had 1,000 average reviews, it wouldn't be a huge deal. Now, this is very low in terms of average reviews, which again, I don't necessarily love because it's a sign that a lot of people are coming across this product because it's low competition. So the influx in new sellers might be high. Now, the only reason this isn't a super big worry for me is because this is a higher ticket item. So I know that not everyone has a lot of capital to invest into a product where the average sales price is 67 bucks, or, I can see some of you are 140 or 280, right? So it doesn't worry me as much. If it was a cheaper price product and the reviews were super low, then I would be a little bit more worried. But overall, this looks great. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check out these products themselves and just make sure it's not brand dominated, make sure that it's not dominated by one seller. And so first I'm gonna hover. I'm going to make sure it's bringing up all of the related products, because what happens sometimes is the products that are brought up on the Chrome extension are not indeed the product itself. For example, this is a wine bar cabinet. This is not a bar cart. And this is normal. This will happen. So what you want to do is you want to take it out. And the issue is if that happens, it'll affect the data up here when it's not even the product we want to look at. So those unrelated products are usually at the top, or they're sometimes at the bottom, but they're usually at the top. But here we go. We can see this is a bookcase. This is not indeed the product. But the thing is, this has NA for revenue, so it's not going to affect revenue, but it might affect reviews and stuff like that, right? So we want to take this out. And while I do this, just keep an eye on the actual data points up here to see if anything changes. I cannot delete this for some reason. Let's not do that then. I'm not sure why I can't delete that, but that's fine. So just always take out the unrelated products. Just make sure of that. Now, is it brand dominated? So yes, we see a few of the same brand names here, but what's important to note is these SB and SP, these are sponsored ads, sponsored listings, which are basically duplicates of their organic listing. So if we see this, right, just hover over the picture, this and this, they're the same listing. This is just the sponsored listing version. So just for organization, you always want to take out the sponsored listings because these are like pretty much duplicates. And I won't go through all of them, but just so you know. And then AC Amazon's Choice, this, you don't need to take this out. So just make sure you're taking out any duplicates. If you see their duplicates, for example, like this, the organic listing and then the sponsored listing, just take that out. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of them right now. And you don't have to go through them all and take them out. It's just more for organization. But you want to go ahead and just understand that, because if you see a bunch of the same brand names, it might just be that there's some that are sponsored. And so overall, this product looks pretty decent. It's not too brand dominated. Data points up here look good. Now let's look at the revenue. So how spread out is it? I don't like to see products that are super dominated in revenue by one or two players. So we can see 104K, 100K, 80, 73. So it's spread out pretty evenly, right? Like there's not massive drops. So that looks good as well. I also like to see in the top 10 sellers, is it doing over $10,000 a month? And I want that because I want there to be depth of market. If I'm not in the top 10, am I still going to be making decent money? So in this, for sure, right? Like the top 10 are all doing well over $20,000, $30,000 a month. So there's a big depth of market here. Now, I also want to look at the seller country and region. If Amazon is in 3 or 4 of the top 10, then I don't really want to compete, because you don't want to compete against Amazon. They're massive. They'll crush anyone, right? So having one Amazon seller here, it's not a huge deal. I also am just noticing now this is not a bar cart anyways. So again, this is why you always want to look at this and make sure you're aware of the products that are not related, because that could have just skewed my decision. But yeah, if Amazon's top 3 or 4 times, then you probably want to stay away. China oftentimes is selling a lot of these products nowadays. It's getting more competitive. That's why it's important to differentiate. Again, I'll go over that in another video probably, but it's normal. You don't ideally want to see all of them being Chinese sellers, but again, it's becoming more and more normal nowadays. Here's another Amazon seller. But again, I can see this is indeed a bar cart, so we'll leave that in. But again, you don't want to see too many Amazon sellers in the top 10. Lastly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll over and I'm going to look at reviews. What I want to see is I want to see 3 to 4 sellers in the top 10, or 3 to 4 sellers doing at least $8,000 to $10,000 per month with under 100 reviews. This just means that I don't need hundreds or thousands of reviews to do well. So 85 reviews, doing $60,000 a month, 23 reviews doing $29,000 a month, 20 reviews doing $29,000 a month, 51 reviews doing $19,000 a month, 99 reviews doing $13,000 a month, right? So there's quite a few people with over 8 to 10K in sales doing $8,000 to $10,000 a month with under 100 reviews, which is a good sign. And so that's pretty much everything I am looking at when it comes to the data. I would then want to verify what my differentiation factor is, and also what are my margins. We'll go over this in a different video, but for profit margin, just briefly, I want to have at least a 25 to 30% margin, and I want to be profiting net profit of at least $10 per sale. So the next decisions would be, what am I going to do to differentiate this product? And are my profit margins at least 25 to 30% with $10 net profit? I'm willing to bet that this is going to be, because it's a higher ticket item, and oftentimes higher ticket items have greater sales. But comment below if you want me to go over how to differentiate and check the profit margins. I can make another video on that. And as always, the link to my free course and my free community is below in the description. Make sure to subscribe as well, as I'll make more product research videos for you guys, and make sure to comment below what videos you want me to make next.